Hi, folks! The Filipina P here, and it's long overdue for a Mailbag Friday. So today we're gonna take a look at the latest batch of problems you guys are having with your Filipinas. I often hear that women are women no matter where you go. And while that's true in some cases, anyone who has a Filipino partner can tell you that we present some pretty unique issues. And today is no exception. We've got a woman who's having trouble separating fact from fiction, a man who's not sure how to introduce certain bedroom games, and a woman who went through a drastic personality change after getting a ring on her finger. So buckle in and hold on tight. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. So our first letter of the day comes from Rasmus in the Netherlands. Rasmus says, Miss P, I feel like I'm in a bad movie. I really don't think I've done anything to deserve this, and even though it sounds ridiculous, it makes me wonder about the sanity of my girlfriend, or my sanity for putting up with it. My lady and I have been dating in the Philippines for the last year, and a few months ago, we finally started living together. I know what you said about sharing the same address and how it can be risky, but I think this relationship is evolving into something more than just dating. So I feel that it's reasonable to live together to see if it's meant to be. The other morning, I was awakened by a slap to my face. I jolted up in bed and was confronted by my angry girlfriend. My mind went in 100 different directions at once as I tried to figure out what I'd done wrong. Did she find something in my wallet or on my computer that she misunderstood? Or did I do something horrible in my sleep? She refused to explain and instead spent the better part of the day just ignoring me or staring at me with daggers in her eyes. I finally had enough, and when I stood up to leave for a while, she said, "You're cheating on me, aren't you?" At that point, I was pretty sure she'd found something she didn't like on my phone, but I knew I hadn't even considered being unfaithful, and I told her so. She kept repeating that I cheated on her with a blonde white woman, which was shocking because I haven't even seen a blonde white woman since I've been here. With hurt and hatred in her eyes, she then told me she knew about it because she dreamed it. I'm not kidding you, and I'm not making this up. She had a vivid dream, and to her, that counted as proof. I spent hours trying to explain how dreams aren't real, but to this day, she gets angry every time she thinks about it. And whenever a blonde white woman appears on the TV screen, I quickly change the channel. I was so surprised by her behavior, and to be honest, a little embarrassed by her juvenile thinking, that my question is, do you think there's something wrong with her more than meets the eye? Well, Rasmus, welcome to the Philippines, home of irrational thinking. This is probably gonna blow your mind, but your situation isn't uncommon at all. As silly as it sounds, I've gotten lots of comments from guys who have been found guilty of all sorts of heinous crimes because of their Filipinas dreams. Now, obviously, it's rather childish, but what do you expect from a culture that believes elves live in little mounds of dirt? Now, I know some of you guys are gonna lecture me on the existence of things that we don't understand and the power of dreams, but the fact remains your dreams are not reality. If they were, I'd be guilty of breaking just about every law there is. So, what should you do about it? Well, since it's not an uncommon situation, at least not for Filipinas, I don't think there's anything psychologically wrong with your girlfriend, and you'll probably have more of this kind of thing as you move forward. But just because you can expect it, it doesn't mean you have to accept it. And other than reminding her that the fantasies in her head are just little movies her brain makes when she's asleep, I do have a suggestion. Now, a lot of guys are gonna say, just dump her ass. Who wants to deal with that kind of crap? But you can save the nuclear reaction as a last resort. Try this first. Did you notice that when you stood up to leave, she finally started telling you what was bothering her? She was doing what we call tampo, the silent treatment. And one of the best ways to defeat that is to do exactly what you did. Leave. When a Filipina pulls tampo on you, don't get angry, don't get defensive. Just act happy that you'll be getting some peace and quiet. Tell her you're going out for a while and head on down to the pub for a bit or just take a long walk. By the time you get back, She'll be dying to know where you went, and her game of tampo will fold like a house of cards. If you do this consistently, she'll soon learn she's playing the silent game by herself. Other than that, you might want to invest in a top notch mattress in hopes of keeping her nightmares away. Sweet dreams, Rasmus. Our next email comes from Benjamin in Idaho, who says, P, I have to tell you this. You sort of had a hand in my meeting online a very nice Filipina from a province. She's been subscribed to your YouTube channel for a couple years, and she read a comment I left on one of your videos and replied. We got to talking and found out we have many of the same goals, but I didn't mention everything I was looking for. I did this on purpose, not only because it's a sensitive subject, but because I didn't want her to just say opo to whatever I said just to try to fit the mold. Opo means yes, okay, and when a Filipino is trying to get you interested, sometimes she'll just say yes to whatever you say you're looking for. It's really off to a good start and has many of the signs of something long term, but there's still so much to be explored. And here's where I get to my question. I almost hesitate to ask you, P. Oh, don't worry about it. I think I've heard it all. How do I find out if she's into certain things in bed before I invest my whole heart into the relationship? I want to be sure we're compatible in that department, and there are certain activities that are important to me, things I don't want to give up. In particular, bondage and such. Bondage and such? What's the such part? I'm afraid before I can answer you, I'll need a full description of exactly what you're talking about, as well as a video demonstration. Come on, man! Western women will openly talk with their partner about stuff like that, but I don't want to scare her away prematurely or make her think I'm some kind of a pervert. I know that Filipinos are more traditional and conservative, and since she's from the province, I'm just not sure of the best way to bring up the subject. Thank you for everything you do. Be safe, Benjamin. Okay, this is a sticky one with a lot of possible answers, but since I'm a provincial Filipino myself, I guess I'm a pretty good person to ask. You're right about one thing though. If you bring it up at the wrong time or the wrong way, you might get a bad reaction. It really just depends on the individual person. When you confront an average Filipina with something unknown or something she regards as scary, her first reaction will be to back away from it. We're not the most adventurous people, and when it comes to the sex department, that becomes even more apparent, at least at first. Regarding things like bondage, very few of us have any experience with it. That's just not something we would have encountered before. When you live in a bamboo shack with your grandma sleeping beside you, it's hard to find an opportunity to pull out the ropes and handcuffs. She probably won't even know what you're talking about, so you might have to look for clues before you drop the bomb. Now, you didn't say how long you've been chatting, so I don't know if you've even discussed the topic of sex, but I'm sure that the subject is gonna be introduced before too long. If you don't want to tip your hand yet, why not start out by asking what her fantasies are? Don't be surprised if she claims she doesn't have any, either because she's too shy to talk about it, or because she really doesn't have any yet. Ask her if the thought of getting caught in the act excites her. Ask about costumes and role play, and then slip in a little question about being restrained. You should be able to tell from her reaction how much of a daredevil she is, and hopefully you can build on that. Now, if it's something you can't do without, and as I've said before, a man never gives up his desires easily, then it's only fair to let her know at some point what you have in mind. If you get a strong negative response, then there's your answer. It'll be up to you to decide where you go from there. The good news is that Filipinos are not as prudish as you might think. We just need to feel safe enough to entertain new ideas. I wish you both the best. And don't forget to send that demonstration video, okay? And finally, we have a question from Dean in Louisiana, who writes, Dear Miss P, I've been in the Philippines for over 4 years, and for the past 2, I've been dating a woman from the provincial area of Giwan. We had what I would describe as a near-perfect relationship, and the only problem we had until recently was some minor trouble with her not telling the truth. But we got that sorted out long ago. I've seen nearly all your videos and have listened to your advice about really getting to know someone before getting in too deep. I don't look at this woman with rose colored glasses, and I'm pretty sure she's the one for me. She takes care of me, always thinks of me first, and never makes any demands on my money, either for herself or her family. We have similar interests and compatible life goals, and if I could just replay the last 2 years of my life over and over again until I died, I'd be a happy man. But about 3 weeks ago, I popped the question. We discussed the possibility of marriage, but I didn't push it because I wanted to make sure everything was cool before taking it to the next level. You should have seen the look on her face when I gave her the ring and asked to become engaged, which she accepted with a big yes and tears of joy. And that's where things turned sour. After a few days of bliss and excited trips to her mom to show her the ring, her personality seemed to change overnight. She began making plans I never agreed to and started looking for property near her family to build a house. I wanted to just live in the city where we live now, but she seems to have other ideas. She's also started acting kinda high and mighty, like she's suddenly better than her friends and neighbors. It's hard to pin it down to any one single thing she said. It's more of an attitude. She's also talking about getting a maid so she doesn't have to do the cooking and cleaning, despite the fact that she's always seemed so happy to make me a meal I enjoyed. It's almost like she's too good for that now. Of course, I talked to her about all this, but it just goes in one ear and out the other. And she's acting like we're already married. Any suggestions? Yep, I have a suggestion. Ask yourself if the woman you're dealing with now is the woman you still want to marry, because I think she finally gave you a look at how things really are behind the curtain. Now, I'm not usually one to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I think this is a case of showing one's true colors. Could it be that she's just overly excited about her new situation and doesn't realize what she's projecting? I guess, but a marriage is a lifetime thing. At least here it's supposed to be. So I'd think long and hard before proceeding. Now, I'm not saying this is the case, but in the Philippines, we don't really do engagements. People are either boyfriend and girlfriend or they're married. We have something called pamalayi, which is our closest equivalent, but it's where the families join together to discuss and plan the upcoming wedding, which is almost never canceled once it reaches that stage. So in her mind, the marriage might be seen as a done deal, whereas in your mind, the engagement is more of a trial period when you agree to eventually marry, but it's not a sure thing yet. You didn't say if you've set a date, but if I were you, I'd let her know that engagements can be broken. Now, it's not that I'm against marriage, but you really gotta ask yourself, how does this marriage benefit you? Wouldn't you rather go back to a time when your humble girlfriend enjoyed making you a sandwich? Because I'm afraid that ship might have already sailed. No matter how much you wish it, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. And even if you tell her you want to postpone things and she seems to revert back to her old self, how will you ever know if she won't change again once she gets the chance? Tread carefully, my friend, and let me know what you decide. Well, that's it for today's episode, and I'll be back on Tuesday with some good news. Till then, folks. If you think about it, I'm kind of like your nurse, attending to your needs and making sure you get a healthy dose of what's good for you in the form of informational and funny videos. After all, laughter is the best medicine. The only thing I ask for my service is that you hit the thumbs up on this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so I'll know when you need assistance. Please also check out my Patreon page for extra content and exclusive features. And while you're recuperating, why not enjoy some of my other videos too? So, are you ready?